Everyone, my name is Andrea Owen, and I'm so excited to be with you today at this event with Orly and talk about such incredibly important topics around things like social impact. And I was thinking about social impact and also about the topic around resilience, which is something that I talk about a lot. And I'm a firm believer that if resilience is not something that you are trying to cultivate in your life and, for lack of a better term, getting really good at, then that is going to affect your personal life. It's going to affect how you can impact the world in all areas. And with COVID being here still and really affecting so many people over the last year, I felt like it was an important topic for us to talk about for the short time that we have together. So I am going to spend a few minutes telling you a story. Then I am going to ask you several questions. So if you have a notebook with something to write with, that would be great to get that out. Or even if you just have a notes app on your phone, you can use that as well to jot down the questions that I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to give you a ton of time to answer them in the time that we have together. So these are powerful questions. They're pondering questions, if you will. So I would like for you to walk away with them and have some time to really think about them. And also, I would love if you watched this and did answer the questions. If you wanted to DM me, I am mostly on Instagram at Hey Andrea Owen. You can find me over there. I answer all direct messages. I would love to hear some of the answers to your questions. Okay, so the story is that in 2006, it was about 15 years ago, I found myself in quite a predicament. So I was just out of a divorce, and it was a dramatic and traumatic divorce. It was only a couple of months had gone by before I found out that my husband had had an affair with our neighbor and gotten her pregnant. And this was right when he and I were talking about conceiving our first child. We had been together for many years at that point. So needless to say, I was extremely heartbroken. So I did what I probably shouldn't have been doing, and I started dating right away to try to heal my broken heart. In retrospect, it was not the best idea. However, I met someone whom I thought was Mr. Right. The unfortunate thing was that he was sick with terminal cancer, so it was a major bummer. And fast forward 9 months, I found myself pregnant with his child. Shortly after that, I found out that he had lied about having terminal cancer and that he was not sick at all, but in fact was an addict and was addicted to prescription pills and was actually using the cancer story to cover up his drug addiction. And I was shocked and floored and obviously very upset. And he agreed to go to rehab, and I decided to give him a chance, mostly because I was pregnant and we were going to have this child together. And I felt like, you know what? Sometimes people recover. They do. It happens all the time. People, find recovery either locally or go away to rehab, to an inpatient center, and they change their lives. So it could happen. And he went away to rehab for a few weeks, and then I went out there for what they call Family Week. And it was actually really great because I was able to work on some of my own issues. We had group therapy together with he and I and some of the other people that were there at the facility. And I thought it was a really positive step in the right direction. But when I left, I felt like something was a little bit off and I wasn't sure what it was. So I got home, and he had logged into his email account on my computer in my apartment. And so I went into his email and I found out that he had been having a relationship with another woman there in rehab. And I was reading these conversations that they were having back and forth about me and laughing about some of the things that I had said in group therapy. And I was absolutely humiliated, devastated, horrified, and was on the floor in the fetal position, as you can imagine. And I was on the phone with my sister saying, I can't believe this is happening to me. Like, how did my life get here? I was 31 years old. I felt like I was the only one out of all my friends who wasn't married and having babies and doing things the right way. My life was a mess. It was in shambles. And so we broke up, by the way. We broke up. And now I have a 13-year-old son, and I'm happily married to someone else. And it's a long story, but no, we haven't spoken to him anymore, to his biological father. But it really was a moment in my life where I decided to take back control, to sort of draw a line in the sand and change my life. I took responsibility for the fact that I had ignored my intuition. When my intuition told me not to date him in the first place, when my intuition told me something isn't right about him, but I don't want to look at it. I don't want to try to find out the truth. I had ignored my intuition in my first marriage when my gut told me, don't marry him. It's not the right person. And then that ended up completely falling apart. So it's not to put all of the blame on me. Yes, the partners that I had done some pretty crappy things to me. And it's not to let them get off the hook, but I had to also understand that I was the common denominator. And it gave me the power to be able to do my own work and to change my life. So I looked at that as an invitation. I looked at it as the universe was handing me an invitation to show up for my life. Truly. And it was the first time in my life that I actually I focused on and did the hard internal work. And those are I'm going to leave you with some questions for you to be able to do the same thing. So I want you to think about a time in your life where you've had a very challenging situation. Maybe it was similar to mine and it was a relationship that fell apart, or maybe it's currently falling apart, or maybe it was the loss of a job. Maybe something happened over COVID or even more recently, but something very difficult where your heart got broken or your ego got broken or both of those got broken, but you just felt like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I am here in this place. And I also want to, before I jump into the questions that I'm going to ask you, let's talk about blame for just a minute. And I think it can be helpful if you think about, if you are blaming someone else or something for the situation that you are in, I just want to say a few words about that. Yes, sometimes people do terrible things. There are so many injustices in the world. We all know this. And there are people and companies and organizations that need to take some accountability and take responsibility for the hurt that they have caused either groups of people or individuals. And at the same time, I want to ask you personally, if you find yourself stuck in the place of blame, just to ask yourself, is it helping? Because sometimes it does. Sometimes, I won't lie, let's put personal development aside just for a second. Sometimes blaming feels good when we're in that place. It gives us that instant relief, but it doesn't last long. And then it also keeps us stuck. So I just wanted to kind of put that in your back pocket a little bit and think about if you're stuck in some kind of blame cycle that isn't helping you anymore. All right? Okay, on to the questions. The very first one is, what is life asking of me? And I want to also just say real quick that you really have to be in that place to look at the situation as a learning lesson, as a life lesson. There are some instances that could take you a very long time to get there, if you'll ever get there at all. Some egregious things. For instance, the loss of a child is one of those, where it can feel like there's absolutely no reason that happened, and I'm not going to learn the life lesson. Fair enough. I totally agree with that. But when you are in the place, or I should say, if you are in the place where you can kind of take a step back and say, all right, I'm ready to look at this as a life lesson and feel empowered from the difficult situation, that's when we're going to get to work, okay? All right, back on. What is life asking of me? When I ask people this question, another way to ask it is really around your personal values. So maybe you've done values work before, and another question is also, what's important about the way that you live your life? Is it, that you want to be more courageous, that you want to always have integrity and honesty, that you want to live more authentically, that you want to really be in touch with your spirituality or your creativity? What is important to you? What's important about the way that you live your life? And it's not that these are things that you're doing right now. It's, maybe the question is, what do you want to be important to your in your life? Because sometimes when I talk to people about values, they'll say, I think I have a value around courage, but I am the least brave person that I know. Okay, well, that's aspirational. When you're asking yourself, what is life asking of me? Courage can still be on there, 100%. That can absolutely be what you feel your life is asking of you. All right? Maybe life is asking you to be more courageous. Maybe life is asking you to pay attention more to your intuition, or pay attention more to the spirit that guides you, whether that's God or the universe or whatever it is that you call it. All right, so that's the first question. What is life asking of me? The second question is a little bit of a loaded one, as really all these questions are, is who do I need to become? Who do I need to become? Another way to ask that with a slight shift in that question is, who do I want to become? Whatever resonates with you more, and maybe you answer both questions and they're slightly different. Who do you need to become? Who do you want to become? Another sort of kind of second part to that question is, what do you need to let go of? Because sometimes we need to let go of certain things when we're thinking about who it is that we need or want to become. Maybe there's a certain identity that you've held on to that isn't serving you anymore. And I work with a lot of women. And so an example of that is they feel like they have held on to the identity of the good girl. And it's not serving them anymore because it's holding them back from allowing them to have a bigger social impact, to really step into their activism. They don't want to rock any boats or make anyone uncomfortable. So for them, it might be they need to let go of the identity of the good girl and embrace their whole authentic self. So then my next question is, well, what does that even look like? What do you want to let go of? What do you maybe need to let go of? And maybe what do you want to embrace? Is there something about your values that you want to embrace more of? Is there something about someone you admire that you want to embrace more of? Think about the people that you admire. When I work with clients, I invite them to make something called the imaginary board of directors. And for my clients, it's usually people like Michelle Obama, RBG, those types of women, Venus and Serena Williams. And I'm like, what is it about them that you admire, that you want to embrace more in yourself? Okay. So again, that second question, who do you need to become? And the third question is, I'm going to read it. I have my notes here because it's a little bit of a mouthful. What do I need to walk through to not only rise to the occasion, but to be the best version of myself? I'll repeat it. What do I need to walk through to not only rise to the occasion, but to be the best version of myself? So when I say, what do I need to walk through? For some people, it's therapy. For some people, like it was for me, it was trauma therapy. Looking at my family of origin stuff, looking at the things that had happened in my relationship that my subconscious had held onto and created these beliefs that were keeping me stuck in patterns that didn't serve me and that were not in alignment with the woman that I truly wanted to be and knew I could become. It was in the way. So I needed to walk through trauma therapy. Maybe yours is that you need to walk through learning how to feel your feelings instead of numb them away with alcohol or scrolling through your phone or food or any of the other many things that we do to run away from our feelings. And hey, listen, I'm not saying like don't ever do that. Like I still do it too sometimes. Like I love a good Netflix binge like the rest of you, but it's about putting boundaries on that type of thing and also really knowing when you're avoiding feeling your feelings. I have a friend that says feelings are just our body's way of taking care of itself. You wouldn't try to always push away sweating when you're exercising, or sometimes when we eat too much garlic and we burp. Like this is our body's way of taking care of itself. And what if feelings are just the same thing? Maybe that's what you need to walk through, really embracing it and just not making your feelings wrong. They're always just feelings. Maybe you need to walk through having some hard conversations with people. That's been really difficult for a lot of us as we've become so polarized with people's views and politics, etc. Maybe that's what you need to walk through. Maybe it's setting boundaries. I read somewhere that hard conversations typically only last 3 to 15 minutes. And if you think about it, that is a very short time in the grand scheme of your life to feel uncomfortable, because that's what they are. Hard conversations are a few minutes of massive discomfort. And boundaries might be another thing that you need to walk through to rise to the occasion and be the person that you want to be. Maybe that's it too. Okay, so I'm gonna ask the question one more time because I think it's such an important one. What do I need to do? What do I need to walk through, to not only rise to the occasion, but to be the best version of myself? You might write pages in your journal of answering that question. So that's it on resilience. Resilience can be a very loaded topic. I also talk specifically about shame resilience. I'm certified in that work. But today we're just talking about resilience in general. And I sincerely hope it was so helpful for you. And I hope that you talk to other people who are attending this event about what answers you came up with or just what came up for you in general as I was talking to you today. And again, I'm at Hey Andrea Owen on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can find me at yourkickasslife.com. And I have written, I have 2 books behind me that I've written, and I have a new book coming out in August called Make Some Noise. So you can look for that on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Okay, thank you so much for your time and attention. I'm so very, very grateful for your time. I know it's incredibly valuable. Bye, everyone.
Cherish life today, cherish life today, only one way. The fight against coronavirus is putting us to the test. All it takes is a simple choice that makes the difference between life and death. Let's do our best to stay healthy every day. tell it go away. Ooh yeah, ooh, one way. 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 Well, we might be apart, we're connected. Even if for now it's good, we stay isolated. The more we join in and share this challenge together, there's no storm that we can't weather. Let's do our best to stay healthy every day, so we can help each other keep sickness away. Yeah, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Oh, there's one way we know. Do it with our neighbors round the world. It's one way, one way, one world, one world. Social distancing we say to keep the virus at bay. It's one way, one way, one world, one world. Keep your hands clean. It involves you and me. Tell it go away. Ooh yeah, ooh, one way. 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 puts a smile upon my face. So relaxed. I am so relaxed.
Dancing, I don't see the people live with them trouble, y'all. Dancing, I don't see the people live with them trouble, y'all. Whoa, whoa, whoa.